Hello, friends. This is Spencer Love, your host of Over the Top Rope on the Win Column Sports Network. Don't forget you can head to wincolumnsports.ca for all of your previews, reviews, and breaking news from the world of wrestling, be it your major promotions or from the great province of Alberta, Canada.
This is your main man RJ from the Ringside Rant, heard only on the Visionaries Wrestling Network. So go over and subscribe across all your major platforms, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher to hear every great interview I have every Monday on the Visionaries Wrestling Network. Go over and follow the show's page on Twitter @_Ringside Rant. Follow the network's page @BizWrestleNet. And, as always, embrace the vision.
If you like podcasts and you are listening to them on Backbreaker Media, then you should listen to me, Chris Parrish,
and myself, Manoyan,
and the Sounds of Struggle, because we are literally the most entertaining duo you'll ever come across in Western Canadian wrestling, baby.
We talk about things like wrestling
and other sports we like.
Wrestling.
But we won't talk about other sports that we don't like, because it's not that kind of podcast.
Like wrestling.
I mean, we like hockey.
And wrestling.
And we like football.
And wrestling.
And we also like to drink beer.
While wrestling.
Well, not while wrestling, but while watching wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want to get into a conversation with Maniac and Chris Parrish, then you need to tune into the Sounds of Struggle live on Backbreaker Media.
Every Thursday.
It's when we hope to drop, but sometimes Mike Malawany doesn't do his job right.
Or we're too drunk to forget.
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
He can bleep out the swear word, because we weren't supposed to do that.
Oh,
but
I'll try not to swear. I can't do it.
Yeah. Let's face it, the two of us, we're real.
And spectacular.
And we're a little bit of all right.
Yeah.
We're also strugglicious.
That we are.
That was kind of the key. Supposed to be strugglicious.
Oh, sorry, I'm trying.
Yeah. So, if you don't want to listen to us, then no. You're stupid, because we're entertaining. And if you want to listen to us, then come listen to us on Backbreaker Media.
Yeah. What he said.
Later, bitches. Okie dokie now. How's it going? It's me, your friendly neighborhood ring announcer, Kyle Shaw from Real Canadian Wrestling. You're listening to Backbreaker Media Network, and this is the first ever edition of Monday Night Shaw. I want to first thank Jordan Aries for coming up with the name of the show. I think it's brilliant. I wish I had done it myself, but I did not. That's all credit to Plastic Pants. He's one hell of a guy, and that's one hell of a name for this show. So thank you, my friend. I also want to thank Dirty Mike Jones for being the first guest on here. I want to thank Backbreaker Media Network for hosting the show and providing some equipment to record with. But yeah, most importantly, thank you to everybody that's actually listening right now, because, that's super cool. I mean, everybody that took part in the poll that I posted to find out who was going to be the first guest, the support was overwhelming. There was people sharing it, and people commenting on it, people left suggestions, write-in votes. There was campaigns going on. People were suggesting themselves as guests, and I hope to have every single one of them on at some point. Yeah, I think it went pretty well with Dirty Mike. Go ahead and listen to the podcast for yourself. 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to have edition number 2 of Monday Night Shaw, and that one is going to feature your RCW Tag Team Champions, the Saltwater Savage, Andrew Hawks, the Viking Lord, Vince Austin, and Gunnar, the Pagan Destroyer. Yes, folks, that's right. All three members of Newfoundland Viking Rage are going to be on the show. It's going to be a good time. All these guys have had plenty of eyes on them recently, especially Gunnar there with his viral sensation. So I'm very much looking forward to him accidentally backflipping his way into the podcast. And one hell of a conversation. So that's 2 weeks from tonight. But for now, enjoy this conversation I had with Dirty Mike Jones. Like I say, it was, I don't think I could have asked for a better first guest. So thank you again to Dirty Mike. And we'll see you when I see you. And thanks for listening. All right, here we are. It's the inaugural edition of Monday Night Shaw. Dirty Mike Jones is here.
Woo!
We are recording. There's not really much point in kayfabing the whole audience here. It is definitely not a Monday night. It is a early Sunday morning. Well, it's not really that early. It's 10 o'clock?
Yeah, early from wrestling standards. So
yeah, early on standards of, we had 2 shows this weekend, and
That's
then
right.
there was a hell of an after party afterwards.
That's right.
And
That's right.
I think I probably got to bed about 4 o'clock this morning. But
All right. We're going to do it. We're going to make it happen.
Yes, okay. So, my name is Kyle Shaw, the ring announcer for Real Canadian Wrestling. I've also got a date coming up for the Canadian Wrestling Elite. So I will plug those dates at the end of the show here for the upcoming dates and stuff. I'm sure Dirty Mike Jones has got some stuff going on in the can, and we'll get him to plug that stuff as well. But let's just get right into it. Mike, how's it going, bud?
It's going great, man. It's a cold September morning here in Edmonton. So we're going to...
Oh yeah,
Shoot.
no, I didn't even say. I didn't even. You told me you were taking your jacket off. I didn't even think to tell you. It gets kind of chilly down here.
It's all good. It's all good.
We're currently in the. I don't know if this is the RCW
Headquarters.
headquarters live event center. Okay, so we just got done with the big round of shows this weekend. We were in Calgary, and then last night we were in Edmonton here. How did that go for you and your boys?
Went really well. Friday night, we kind of did our usual run-in on the universe. That's kind of our gimmick right now, where we're trying to ban the overdose. After that, in Calgary, Dirty Inc., Cameron Stevens, Sweet Daddy Soul took on Gunnar and Hawks of the Newfoundland Viking Rage. In my biased opinion, it was match of the night. I thought they stole the show. Sweet Daddy doing 2 dives into the crowd on top of the boys. Beer everywhere. I thought it was great. I thought we had a great weekend, of course, last night.
Props to Cameron Stevens too.
Oh.
Big time. I just watched a couple of the videos last night, and there's one point where Gunnar's on the outside, and Cam just comes and he plows him with a friggin' drop kick from the inside of the ring to the out. It was
through
so
the
good.
middle rope too, not the under it, above the middle rope.
Yeah.
And Cameron also does the standing shooting star press now, and for
Yeah.
a guy his size, it's unreal. It's unreal how much that guy's grown in the ring over the short time he's been there, and the big future for him. So.
Yeah, I was really worried he was going to kill his opponent on that one, but I'm glad that didn't happen.
I saw him practice that move on someone in this room, and it wasn't me, and there's only 2 of us here, so...
Yeah.
But no, it looks good. The kid's good. Those 2 guys, I'm so happy to be with them. We got a great team, and I look forward to future matches. And so for last night, it was just Cameron and I in town, and we did the 2 out of 3 falls against Merck. Came up short, but I think it was a great showing and a great learning experience for all of us, right? So.
Yep, you guys had Black Cobra and Mr. Spectrum with you last night.
So we've hired the services of Mr. Spectrum, our legal advice, and of course where Mr. Spectrum goes, the Black Cobra's always there, so that doesn't hurt Dirty Mike's feelings to have an extra enforcer beside him. So I don't wrestle, that's not my gig. I'm here to manage and to advise, and so when I got someone else who can watch my back, I'm all for that. So
is there a reason behind that, or you just...
Why I don't wrestle?
Yeah.
Have you seen me athletically? first of all, I love wrestling, and you and I, we can kind of get into the background of all that here too, but I've never been an athletic guy, never been a big guy, which, this day and age isn't that big of a deal, but back when I started watching wrestling in the 80s, if you were like me, 5'7", 110 pounds, you weren't going to wrestle. That wasn't even an option, right? So, but I like to think, even though I'm still pretty new at this, I have kind of the right personality to be, especially right now, that heel manager. And so that's the gig I have, and so it's up to me to kind of, from a kayfabe standpoint, manage, support the guys, get the crowd riled up, and from a shoot standpoint, to get those guys over. If in the process Dirty Mike gets over too, that's great, but the goal is to get Dirty Ink over, not get Dirty Mike over. So.
For sure, it's very similar with ring announcing.
For sure,
like
for sure.
There's going to be a moment here and there to take for yourself and take your shine,
yeah.
but overall, your job is to make other people look good. And like my whole thing with ring announcing, like I actually I just moved to Edmonton, so I was out looking for a new job.
Yep.
The one I landed is probably not the one I was looking for, but it'll pay the bills for now.
That's
but
right.
One of the things I was really like thinking about when I was out there looking for a job was places that I could go where my job is to do the same thing that I do at wrestling, not necessarily announce people as entering the building or whatever, but just from the standpoint of relaying information and getting people hyped up to have fun.
That's right.
I wanted to be like a virtual reality host or something like that, where your job is to explain video games and get people hyped to have a good time. Like,
I think the key, and we can go off a wrestling tangent here, but I think you and I are on the same page that if you can get up in the morning and like going to your job, then you can do that till you die. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we all have the job that we don't necessarily like getting up for in the morning. But
oh no, me and you, like I even remember last night, like we even talked, it was like, the dream is to say fuck a shoot job.
Yeah.
And
and get paid for this.
Let's get paid for wrestling, you know? And that's one of those things is, like at this level it's not a lucrative endeavor by any means.
Of course. It's pretty much the opposite of lucrative.
Yeah.
It sometimes costs money. And we're fortunate, you and I, that we get the best of both worlds. So we work with a bunch of guys who have decades of experience. But we also see, the kids from Lance Storm School come in and who are greener than us. And they learn real quick that if you're in this for the money, you might have a long road ahead before that works out, right? So
I would feel so bad for any Lance Storm students who get to the show and then at that point are like, oh, there's no money in this. Because Lance is not, don't get me wrong, it's probably the best place in the world you can go to train to wrestle, but it's also costing you a few $1,000s. And if you're looking to gain that back from your RCW bookings, you're going to be working for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, that's no different than a kid going to university or college. If you're in the Storm Academy, you're not going because you're going to make that money back tomorrow. You're going because that's the long haul.
Yeah,
right? That's the plan. So
but
like you say, that's, in my opinion, the best wrestling school on the planet. I'd struggle to have anyone argue about that. You can go anywhere in the world and say, "Oh, I trained at Storm Academy," and everyone's going to know what that means, right? So
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely not the only trainer in Alberta.
Definitely not. Definitely not the only great trainer for that matter.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not 100% on all the other training facilities, but and I don't know who's advertising training and stuff right now. It's not really something that we need to talk about at this time.
No.
But like for sure, like it's not a lucrative endeavor, and if you're in this for the money, I feel kind of sorry for you, to be honest. If you're not in wrestling because you enjoy it, it's not the it won't last. Well, that's the reality, right? Why would you even come?
This is something you do because it's fun. You don't go to a rock concert to get paid. You go to enjoy it.
Exactly.
And we're lucky enough to go enjoy it and be part of it.
It's kind of like, like if I was gonna go to a rock concert, ideally I would not want to pay, and B, I'd also be there up on stage going, okay, coming to the stage right now. It's like Metallica. Metallica would be amazing.
Hey, Dirty Mike can go off on a tangent about Metallica for the next hour, so we better not start there. But that's my band. I've seen them 14 times now. So
I was gonna say, like, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about you, like, outside of wrestling.
Sure.
But I do see, like, a lot of, Dirty Mike is here traveling this place. Dirty Mike is traveling over here. Europe, Newfoundland, Toronto.
See, he's now we're kayfabing right here. This is getting out of hand. Nova Scotia. See, these Albertans, they don't understand that there's more than one province on the other side. So I'm from Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Not Toronto, not Newfoundland.
Oh, you were? I could have swore I saw you, like, you were at Newfoundland Pro Wrestling or something.
No, I was in New Brunswick. I did a show with IHW, a little plug for IHW on the East Coast. They do shows in a lot of maritime provinces. The one I did was in New Brunswick.
Is that the promotion with the dude that dresses just like Thaddeus Archer?
That is the dude, yeah. Yeah, his name's Chris, and he looks exactly like him with the same suit and everything. So I made sure Archer got a picture of that. So. But yeah, for me, I mean, we can go back. I don't want to go back to 1975 when the show all started for Dirty Mike, but I grew up in Nova Scotia, spent the majority of my life in Nova Scotia. In 2010, like a lot of people from the East Coast, I moved to Alberta to make money. That's the goal, I love it now. I've been here 8 years, but especially Calgary. I'm a big fan of the city I live in. But the goal was to come out here to make money, because on the East Coast that is a very difficult thing to do. And in 2010 it was...
Just because we've already gone off on a tangent, the goal is to make money, but not necessarily, like, you didn't come out here to be a big star in wrestling. And
absolutely, that wasn't even on my mind at that point in time. Now, obviously, I'm a huge wrestling fan, and I know you know that. But anybody who's listening to this who knows me knows since 1984, I've been not just a fan, a mega fan. You know what I mean? Like as a kid, I was obsessed, and so a lot of times when you see stuff on Facebook, you'll see people who know me under it say, this has been 40 years in the making, you know what I mean? That he's part of this show, right? So, I'll kind of walk you through how I ended up in this kind of situation. So, I have a cousin here in Alberta who works for Canada Post. You and I have a friend named Farron Munsey, who the listeners may know better as Cedric Hathaway IV, who is our lead senior official in RCW, who also works for Canada Post. I get a call from my cousin one day saying, this was before you started.
Are you telling me Farron's a mailman?
He's not a mailman. He works in the post office warehouse, and he's a supervisor. He doesn't walk the street as a mailman.
I was totally just going to be like, if he delivered my mail, I wouldn't even bat an eye. Like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense.
No, he doesn't walk the street. He's a supervisor at the distribution center. I think I'm getting this right, Farron. Don't shoot me. So anyway, I get a call one day from my cousin Rick. He's like, hey, I'm going to go do some ring announcing at wrestling. I know nothing about wrestling. Can you come and help? Well, of course I can come and help. This isn't even a conversation. So I stroll into RCW one night a couple years ago, and I'm just kind of tagging along. And Steven, Squig as we call him, Steven Styles, needs someone to play a commissioner for the night. Well, here I am. That's the only thing I needed to hear. Yeah, he could have told me I need you to mop the ring. No problem. Whatever you need, because I want it to be part of this, right? So, did a small bit. Had some help from a lot of guys, Metal and Dano and Merck, telling me how to do it right. And so, that was that. After that, I did a little bit of announcing. I say that humbly, beside the man who does it well. I do not do it well. So I'm glad you came and stepped into that role. But my goal, as soon as this started, was to be that heel manager. And I think a lot of people have that dream, but I really had that dream. And so a guy named Dan O'Burns, our buddy, the hooligan himself, saw something in me. That's all I can say. I don't want to speak for Dano, but he said to Squig, I'll let this guy be my manager. And, so without that moment, we wouldn't be sitting here having that podcast. And, big thanks to Dano, because what a risk he took on a green guy, bringing him to the ring. You know what I mean? Like, I could have made him look bad, and he took me out there and taught me a lot of stuff. And our storyline ended and I moved on to some other people. But that's how I ended up where we're sitting right now. So
That's awesome, man. I like Dano too. He's a good guy.
amazing,
Like
in both aspects, right?
Yeah.
As a performer, to me, incredible. As a person, just awesome. Just a really good guy.
Yeah, for sure. Like even like I've had situations where when you're first into it, you're kind of nervous and you're like, oh, but then every once in a while, like something comes up and you kind of just have to take your moment and you take your shine or whatever.
Yeah.
You'll do I'll do stuff in the ring where it's like, oh, this is just an improvised moment, and then people will laugh, and
That's right.
Then later on I'll be at the after party with Dano and I'll be like, oh yeah, I wasn't sure if I was doing it. He's like, fuck, you should do more of that.
Exactly.
Like
It's all about, to me, entertaining. And if even as the announcer, you have to be entertaining. Like I want to be very careful with my words. Anyone could stand in the ring and read off a sheet and say who's coming to the ring.
don't see me reading off no sheets.
Never ever. Also, you got to have the voice to do it. And again, you throw those little bits of humor in, which to me are, I'm popping in the back because it's awesome. Like, I think that's on top of being a great announcer, that's the one big thing that I like about what you do, is that you're not funny 24 hours a day, but when you are funny, it's so gold that I just I'm not the only one who will say that, I promise you. But I enjoy your work, and I'm glad that you came in and took over for us, because I much rather my role than
Yeah, I didn't know that you had done announcing.
briefly. Brief. When I say brief, we're talking 3 or 4 shows maybe.
Were they all Calgary shows?
No, we did one in what's that place just outside of Calgary? Strathmore?
Oh boy.
Yeah. To a whopping 12 people.
Oh, I cut
So-
my teeth in Strathmore.
Yeah. You know what? I joke. It was only 12 to 20 people, but great 12 to 20 people. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
they were
no.
into it. I loved it. So yeah.
We've had some of the times when there's like, it happens. Occasionally we pull up to a show and we get there and it's like, oh, what's the crowd like? What's the crowd like? And we're all waiting and we're like, okay, it's 5 minutes after showtime. What's the crowd like? It's like, oh, there's maybe a dozen people here. But I'll be honest, like, those are the shows where I totally am just like, okay, well, let's go have some fun.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Right? Exactly.
We're here, the ring is set up, we're not taking it down.
Nope.
These people,
We got 2 hours to put in.
I'm assuming a few of them have paid.
Yeah. Take out the wives and
Yeah.
kids who have came with the workers, and
Those are the shows where, the sound guy is getting cute with the guys and everybody's coming out to the wrong music and people are I took my clothes off in Strathmore during a show once.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, I think the big thing for me, and I don't want this to be an hour podcast of me, blowing smoke up people's ass, but I've been really lucky that we have those guys. And I could name them all. There's not a person in the locker room who hasn't given us some help, but the Danos and the Medals and the Mercs and the Fair and Munsies, and who have, who aren't scared to say to me, that was really good, and they certainly aren't scared to me to say, that was shit. Like, that was garbage, man.
And those are the ones that are more valuable.
Of course.
Like, you're going to learn from, like, you're going to learn from your mistakes rather than from the things that you do well.
That's right. That's right. And I'm with 2 guys now, with Cameron and Sweet Daddy, who are the same. Like, they don't mind pulling me aside and say, man, that didn't look great. But they also have my back. You know what I mean?
And those guys they're great wrestlers, but they're young guys too, so they're in the same situation. Sure. Like, I'm sure that there's been a couple of guys that give them they are. I mean, I don't want to name names or anything, but there's a couple of guys who are giving those guys the what for after every show, being like, "This is how you did well." But this is what you fucked up, and don't do that again.
That's right.
you know.
Right. I had a great conversation with the universe again, not to kayfabe because we're arch nemesis right now, but again, he's a great guy to tell you what he likes and what he doesn't like, and I have great respect for that. And what I told him is, don't ever stop doing that. Don't ever worry about my feelings. if you didn't like me, if you didn't think I had potential, we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. So even if the conversation is, man, that sucked, okay, he's helping me. He's trying to get me better at what I'm doing. So absolutely, I'll listen to that for hours and hours, because whatever I can do to get out there and be better, it only benefits everybody, including myself, right?
I've traveled with the universe a bunch of times, and he has some interesting old school mentality on the business. A lot of guys don't really agree with his opinions.
Right.
Sometimes even I'm like, okay, well, I don't really agree with this. But then he'll explain it to me from his point of view, and it's like, well, I can totally understand where you're coming from, you know?
Yep, exactly.
And I think that perspective is very valuable to RCW or to professional wrestling.
For sure.
Somebody to be there and be like, okay, let's check this a little bit. And I mean, at the same time, he's not totally like, you know, you guys probably weren't like, oh yeah, then we're going to come down with signs and stuff. He probably wasn't like, fuck that noise. You know?
Absolutely.
Because it happened, you know.
That's right. Yeah, we wouldn't have come out there cold, but surprise, you know, here we come. No, he has, again, as a senior guy in that locker room, that we go to him for guidance, and a lot of other guys too, right? So, again, I don't like to speak for anyone else, but I think if he thought Dirty Ink was not great, or not at least good, we wouldn't be in this program at all. Like,
well,
why would he even allow that to happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
like, it's got to be worth his time, right?
That's right. He sees potential in it, and I'm going to learn every ounce of information I can as part of that process. So,
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's you know, you strike me as just like me. Like, you're here and you are just so appreciative to be here.
Absolutely.
But you also have like aspirations to
For
go.
sure.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't want to leave RCW.
No.
You know, but like if somebody called us up and was like, "Hey, we got a lot of money here for you,
Kyle Shaw, it's
interested?" You know, like,
of course, right? Of
Yeah.
course. I don't think that's disrespect to anyone. I think everyone has those goals, and you know, a lot of times I'll be at the back, kind of peeking through the curtain, and I'll see you at ringside, and you know, something awesome will happen, or a great bump, or a great line from somebody, and you'll pop, and they'll just be like, not, you won't pop for the crowd to see, but I can see you. You're like, oh, because I think a lot of people think, especially if they're new to watching wrestling or not really into it, they think all of us know what's going to happen at all times. You know what I mean? I think they think we do like a table read, like you would for a movie, and of course that's not the case. You know, as the announcer, you know what you need to know, and even as the manager, I know what I need to know. I don't know everything, and I really only know my match, and sometimes I don't know all that.
I probably know less than I actually should know.
Sure.
And I keep it that way.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Steven, I'll go to him before the show, and I'll be like, okay, have you got the card for me? And he'll give me the card, but like, I'm not writing down who's winning matches and stuff.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like,
no.
I'm announcing this show as if it's happening.
Right.
So, like,
And
don't get me wrong, like, even if he was like, okay, these are the winners and like, I'm not going to, if I memorize that information, then something goes awry, and for some reason somebody else wins, and then I announce the wrong winner, like, that's a bad situation.
And again, that's what people don't understand. Just because two guys go into the ring with a plan, that's not necessarily how the plan's going to finish. And I think for you, it's perfect because I know as not just someone in this show, but as a fan, I want you as the announcer to have your real emotions there. You know what I mean? Like, I want you to be like, if someone just won a title, I want to hear in your voice, "Oh man, and no!" Like, I don't want you just,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? And that's, I think it'd be a sad day if we lost that plan. You know what I mean?
So like it's part of the strategy is like, you don't. I mean, I don't want to know how long the match is supposed to go.
Right.
I don't want to know who's supposed to win.
Right.
I want to know what the stipulations are, what information I have to relay to the crowd.
That's right.
And that's what I'm looking to do. And then the rest of the time is, you're just kind of preparing for what else you have to do during the show. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I know, like, it's a weird thing for me because as somebody who's involved in matches, like, you're preparing all night for, like, this 5 minutes.
That's right.
Like, you got 12 minutes maybe if it's a long match.
That's right.
But like when you're announcing, you have to, like, don't get me wrong, condensed. If you condensed it all, it's probably like 12 minutes.
No, I agree 100% with what you're saying. Because the other thing for me is, at bell time, I can have a plan in my head, and if I start to forget it, at 8:45, I can go see who I'm with. And, hey, is this what we're doing? You do not have that option. Once you go out, you're out there until the show ends. So, and a lot of times we'll be in the back relaying, okay, how do we get to Kyle to tell him we need this and that? Because you know better than anyone, things change on the fly, right? So
absolutely.
But I think we do pretty well. You and I and everybody else included to keep that. I think we're ultra sensitive to stuff. Like if things change, I think we notice it more than anyone. But I don't think the crowd has a clue that we're keeping it on the rails sometimes when it's coming off, right? So I think one thing you and I should talk about again is how I won this vote. Like, how does Mike Jones, a manager who's only been doing this a couple of years, how does he win the inaugural podcast, right? So I think for people in Alberta especially, they're like, how does that happen? But when you're from a little tiny town, there's a lot of people back in my little town who are living this dream with me. You know what I mean? Like, they know me. They know how much I love wrestling. And this is amazing for them. Like, my father-in-law, Angus, shout out to you, Junior. He's slinging merch over in, Nova Scotia for Dirty Mike, and he's wearing my shirt every day. And it's so cool for all those people to see it. And that was one of the great things about a few months ago when I got to go back to the East Coast and just work a small show with IHW, that a lot of people got to drive up and watch that show and see me in the ring for the first time. And it was so cool. It was so cool. Like, it was a challenge because I was trying to be a heel. And there's a lot of people cheering the heel when he came out.
Yeah.
So, I kind of had to straighten them out before the show. Like, hey, you have to boo me. This isn't something where you can come cheer. But, you know what? We let the fans do whatever they want, right? But I think that's, as much as I love being part of this, that may be my favorite thing. That there's so many friends and family and people that are jumping on this, right? That they're like, oh my, this guy's, for lack of a better word, he's getting over. You know what I mean? But they're getting me over. That's the key, right? So when you take a whole group of people like that who are on board and you put up a poll, well, then they're on it.
So basically everybody that voted for you lives in the Maritimes?
I would say the vast majority. The vast majority. Now, I know a lot of people in Alberta too, but I would think the majority of that vote came from far from this province, I would think.
What is the scene like over in the Maritimes, like when you worked for HIW? Like
IHW?
IHW. How did that compare to working in Real Canadian Wrestling?
It had a lot of similarities. They have an amazing setup, like a ring setup, and they have like I don't know what you're supposed to call it. I always call it the Titantron. You know what I mean? But the big screen and all that. The crowd was super into it. The group of guys was awesome, and it was a well-written show. That was the one thing, and I really praised them for it, especially the main event. I won't go into the details, but the finish was so great on the show that I was on. The scene itself, I think, is pretty good. Wrestling's been big in the Maritimes for a long time. So if you go all the way back for me in the 80s, we couldn't see Stampede Wrestling. Like, that wasn't on our television. I didn't even know that existed. But we got a lot of Stampede guys coming through in what was called Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling.
Oh, was that the one that's Rene Dupree's father was the promoter?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I know kind of the top talent guy back in the 80s was Leo Burke, who did a lot of wrestling in Stampede as well, but he was kind of the Hulk Hogan of Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling. And it was way back in those days when I kind of got smartened up a bit, because I decided once that my uncle was going to take me to see Grand Prix, but we're going to go to 2 shows in a row. So we're going to go in my hometown, and then we're going to go to the next town over. I'm like, oh my, 2 shows in 2 days? And then about
feeling I know where this is going.
Yeah, about 20 minutes into show 2, I realize it's the same as show 1. I'm like, I'm looking at him, and he knows, I'm like, wait a minute, this all happened before. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. But it was about that time that that I got onto WWE, and that whole production level, even back in the 80s, and Hulkamania was huge, and I was beyond obsessed. Like, I can't even put into words. The people listening who know me, they're like, yeah, it was unhealthy at times, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember, like, in my day, we couldn't get pay-per-view in Canada, and I remember specifically WrestleMania 3. It was such a huge event, and as a kid, I was losing my mind, but I couldn't see it. There was nowhere to watch it. And I remember going to the video store every day for a 3-month stretch because I wanted to be the first guy to get that videotape of that show.
Double
boxed. And man, it's funny because you meet someone now, maybe they're 15 or 18, and you show them that show and they think it's terrible. But to me, that was the real art form back then. And if you can sit and watch Savage Steamboat and not like that match, Jesus, you don't like wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, you're not into this.
If you're
at all.
sitting there and being like, "Oh, Savage Steamboat's so boring and slow," like, what are you on crack?
Yeah, someone said to me it was overhyped or whatever. Like, come on, but I get it. And I try to explain it to people this way: that if and don't hold me to these dates. I don't know my movies that well, but if in 1940 I took you to see Charlie Chaplin at the theater, you'd be like, "Oh my God, this is incredible! I've never seen anything like that." But if you tried to sit someone down now and say, "Okay, let's watch a silent Charlie Chaplin movie," you'd be like, "I just watched Transformers 3. I can't watch this. This is not the same, right?" So for me, I missed that. I missed the Saturday morning superstars where it was jobber matches, but it was all building to a pay-per-view. And when Hogan fought Andre, those two guys barely touched for 6 months. They certainly didn't have 6-man tags building up and stuff like that. Like, that night was massive, and so I miss it. But I don't see how we could. You can't go back. You can't reverse time. It's a different world now, right?
So just comparing IHW to RCW.
Now he's trying to get me fired. I see where we're going here.
Oh, no. You're saying it was like a well-written show. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I've never seen a script for an RCW show other than the one I personally write. Is like, this is the information I need.
And I certainly didn't see a script for IHW. I guess the better way to word it would be the finish and the plan was to their main event, to me, was very original. It was shocking to the fans.
Okay, so it's not like they handed you a piece of paper.
No, absolutely. And my part at IHW was very small. That was more a favor from them to me as another worker.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, come on in, we'll give you a couple spots to do, and thank you guys, and I did greatly appreciate that. But I stayed for the show, and I remember telling the promoters, like, that finish was so good. I'll put it to you this way, and again, I don't want to read the story of their show, but there was people crying in the audience after the main event. And it's funny because I had my nephew Jack with me, and he's not a wrestling fan, but he wanted to come see his uncle kind of do his thing. And he was blown away that there would be people in the audience crying, because obviously he's smart. He knows that this is predetermined and it's all athletic entertainment. But he's like, these people are crying. Like, they think he's dead. They think they've killed this man.
Well, I mean, the thing about professional wrestling, everybody being like, "Oh, it's fake. Hey, it's not fake. It hurts."
Yeah. Go ask Matt Hart how fake it is with his face this morning after the trophy to the head. So.
Yeah. But, like, you can sit here, like, I've got a big stack of Blu-rays right over there in the corner. Like, I could put any of that on. It's all fake, too.
Absolutely, yeah.
But, like, if you put on a good movie, you can jerk some tears from that.
For sure. Suspend your belief. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to do. I don't want to...
Yeah.
I mean, we're part of the show, but if I go to turn on WWE pay-per-view, I don't want to be like, "Oh, yep, I see that," or, "Oh, well, that wasn't written well." You know what I mean? Like, I want to just enjoy the show. I want to mark out like I did when I was 12 years old, right?
For sure. Like, there's enjoyment to be had in some of the things that are bad, where you're like, "Oh, that was so bad, it was great." Like
watching a large man fall over the top rope. Gooner.
Oh, God.
see that on YouTube. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, no, for everybody listening that doesn't know, last night there was a point in the show where Braden Lewis from the Onslaught was back, and he was in the ring, and the NVR came out and they surrounded him like the Shield, and just as Gunnar got up on the ropes there, he went to do the old Big Show into the ring where he steps over the top rope. Well, he got his second leg over, and then he kind of teetered on the rope for a second, and then you can kind of see it in the video, and he just, boom, it's like a goon salt right over to the, you see, like, nails the back of his head on the ring apron, does a backflip out of the ring, he lands on his feet, so he's at least graceful, but, like, oh God, it was hilarious. I feel awful for him, because it's like, it's kind of Shockmaster level of clumsiness.
And the important thing for us is he's okay. You know,
that is the important thing.
And that's why we can laugh about it now, but that video will make the rounds of social media, I'm sure, and I hope that large man does not hurt me because I shared it.
I sure hope that he, like, gets something from it. Like, I hope that people see it and they're like...
Well, you know what? I hope he does too, because I immediately thought of... if you want to jump to the WWE level, Titus O'Neil running to the Royal Rumble and he slips and falls and goes under the ring. Now, he could have beat himself up for that for weeks. He just went and made a t-shirt. You know what I mean?
Like, own it.
Yeah. So I don't think Gunnar should be stressed. I understand why he would be, but that shit happens, and it was... You're still good. You didn't get hurt, and I think you, like you say, you own it. And
I'll be honest too, while we were at the show last night, I had been looking away or something. I didn't even notice it during the show.
Right.
It was afterwards when we were partying at the bar when I saw the video, and oh boy, we were all like, oh no. And I was like, oh, I feel like I almost composed a message and sent it off to him, half being like, oh, are you okay? And half just ribbing the shit out of him.
Yeah. He had a nice lump on the back of his head, but he's okay.
Yeah,
so
no, but even I walked up to him and afterwards, and I was like, oh, people are asking me if you're all right, and
and they
and it was one of those things where, I could totally tell, he was a little agitated, but I didn't even really know what they were talking about.
Right.
I thought it was from the cane shot, because he took a shot to the face with a Singapore cane, too.
He literally powerbombed himself out of the ring, and it looks really, I don't want to say bad as in embarrassing, but bad as in that looks like that really hurt, and I'm sure it did really hurt, but...
Yeah, it looked like it sucked.
Yeah.
But at the same time, all the credit to Gunnar. It's not like he was like, oh, my neck.
He dusted himself off and got right back in there. Yeah. He's a good dude. I like Gunnar. So
for sure.
He'll get ribbed a bit, but he's literally.
Yeah, and I almost feel bad for even mentioning it and talking about it. But how could we not?
Oh yeah, it's gold. And we're not the only two that are going to kind of keep that ball rolling for a little bit. So
yeah, I mean. All the other boys that were botching spots should be thankful to him, because nobody's going to remember what happened to them.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, we were talking about what I kind of do outside of wrestling. So as you can see, anybody who follows me on social media, that's Dirty M Jones on Instagram, and you can find me on Facebook too. I'm a huge concert fan. Like we talked about this at the very first, I've seen Metallica 14 times. Just in the spring, I saw them in Stockholm, Sweden. So it was... I could go on about Metallica for hours, but I've listened to Metallica since I was 5 because I have an older brother who was a huge Metallica fan. So getting to see them live... not to sound like a downer, but when you come from a little town and you grow up pretty poor... The thoughts of seeing Metallica live is not even a thought. You know what I mean?
I've never seen Metallica live.
And so now I've seen them 14 times, and now that I'm in a position as an adult to afford to do some of these things, that's what I do. It sounds so cliche to say it this way, but I try to live every day and be happy every day. We all know people that aren't with us anymore, and that can happen the minute we turn this podcast off. So if spending a little bit of money lets me enjoy a Metallica show or a Foo Fighters show, or, I spend a bunch of money to be at Survivor Series in Toronto a couple years ago, and people whine and complain. It's funny how negative people can get, right? Oh, it must be nice to spend that money. Well, yeah, it's my money. No one's given me money. No one in my life has given me money. That has never happened, right? So anything I spend, I made. And so, yeah, it's nice. And a lot of times to those same people who are driving a giant, brand new Chevy truck, I ask them how much their truck payment is. And when it's $800 or $900 a month, I drive a Yaris and it's paid for. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's all about what you want. And if the big truck's your thing, cool. I got no problem with that. But going out and enjoying stuff's my thing, man. And you know, as I'm not just a manager, I'm a dad on top of all this, right? So I try to really push that on my daughter and my nephew. Like, don't let the world get you down. You got to enjoy it. We're going to be gone, right? We're not going to be here anymore, so don't waste time. And so that's why I think it's not overly shocking to people that I'm where I'm at from a wrestling standpoint. I'm certainly not famous, and I'm certainly not successful, and I'm certainly not experienced. But like you, no one called. That's right. No one called us up and said, "Hey, you want to be part of a wrestling show?" We made that happen. We showed up and made that happen, right? So, to me, it was almost destined to happen because I was going to make it happen, whether it was wrestling or something else. And so you and I and a lot of guys with us are going to just keep pushing this until we can make money at it, real money, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
and like even like just what you're saying, like having goals and stuff, like I mean, up until like last year, I just kind of always thought like, oh, this is my lot in life,
Right.
and this is where, you know, this is how
Right.
things are. But then like somebody said something to me and was like, oh, if you don't like your situation, why don't you change it?
Exactly.
And just like when they like, that's not the exact wording that was used,
Sure,
and I
sure.
don't remember what the exact wording was, but it just kind of dawned on me that, oh yeah, no, if you are willing to work at something, like,
Right.
and it doesn't have to be completely overwhelming. Like you could, you know, like start small, but like, you know, if you work at something, like I lost a lot of weight last year,
You did, yep.
and I was working out a lot, and I hope to, you know, get back in
Yeah.
the gym and do that, some more of that, the move and stuff. There's a couple of like logistical issues. Like in Red Deer, I had a free membership at
Right.
a few of the rec centers because I have some mental health issues.
Sure.
I've Asperger's syndrome, which is on the autistic spectrum.
Right.
So I'm on AISH, right, which is a disability program for folks in Alberta. And in Red Deer, if you're on AISH, you can walk into a gym and be, or not a gym, but a rec center,
Sure,
and be like,
sure.
oh, I'm on AISH. And they'll be like, oh, okay, well,
Yep.
here's a free membership, and go for it, right? Well, in Edmonton, I guess, like, I tried the same thing. I was like, okay, I'm on AISH, and they were like, oh, well, here's a piece of paper, fill this out, and in 3 to 6 weeks, I was like, oh, okay.
All right. Well,
You know,
workout on hold. you know.
well, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not opposed to spending money to work out.
Sure.
Like that, of course.
Right.
Like everybody, you know, it's not a big deal. It's just if you can, like, if you don't have to spend money, then don't, right?
It makes me, you know, just the way you put that for people on my social media. There's a shot of me this last weekend at a Metallica show, and I got headphones on because the sound guy, I don't know if he recognized me from being at so many shows or I just was in the right place at the right time, but he had this mix. So he gives me the headset and I can move from one performer to the other, and so I posted it. And
Really?
Yeah. So Metal, our former champ, Heavy Metal, put underneath it, "You're one hell of a worker." And that's what he means. The same
Yeah.
thing you're saying. If you can work your way into a free membership, that's what we do.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, you know, having like a mental health issue is probably not the way to go about trying to get stuff. That's definitely not what I'm trying to say
No,
here.
absolutely not. Absolutely
you know, I'm just saying that, yeah, like, if you want something, go after it, get it.
Right.
Like,
I think people get caught up in, I'm going to fail, so I'm not going to try. So what? If you and I do this, and this is the height of our success, fine. I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? That's not my goal. That's not what I want. But if, at the end of the day, working for RCW and getting to come to the ring and watch talented guys do talented shit, and I get to be part of it, I'm already won. Like, I can't lose now. I've
No.
already been successful. And if bigger things come, awesome. And you know me, that I'm going to push for that to happen. But if I hadn't have taken those baby steps just like you to try to do this at all, I'd still be not doing it, right? So,
yeah. Like I said at the beginning of the show, like I have a booking coming up for Canadian Wrestling Elite.
Yep. Yeah.
Danny Duggan's promotion.
Is the Beefcake on that show?
Yes,
Yep.
yes, Brutus the
Brutus
Barber
the
Beefcake.
fucking Barber Beefcake.
Oh yeah, no, it's gonna be pretty cool actually.
Yeah, no, that'll be a good time.
That show's gonna be in Red Deer at the Springbrook Multiplex. RCW's had some shows there in the past.
Yep.
Anyways, but it's just like one of those things. Like I just messaged Danny on his. This is the second show I'm doing for these guys. But I mean, RCW and them, they kind of work together,
Sure.
sort of, kind of, not really. But our guys work on their shows. Like there's promotions. Like I wouldn't message up Monster Pro and be like, "Hey, is it alright if I come and announce your show?" Like,
Dear Ring of Honor, my name's Kyle Shaw.
well, I thought about it.
Hey?
Like when the thing with Danny, I just basically messaged him and said, "Look, I'm just looking to get some experience and yada yada yada."
Yep.
And, to his credit, he still paid me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it wasn't discussed.
Right,
But,
right.
You know, and that's kind of like the getting your foot in the
That's
door
right.
type thing.
That's
like
right.
even.
And again, even with our little experience, when Storm kids come in with no experience, that's what I tell them. Like, just get booked. Don't worry about the little bit of money. Just
Yeah.
get booked. Like, you're nobody right now. And that's what I did because I was going on vacation to the East Coast, and I just emailed IHW, "Hey, I see you guys have a show. Can I show up and can I do my thing?" And they did. You know what I mean? That's that brotherhood of what we do, right? Yeah, give this guy a shot. Let him come in. So, I think it's awesome.
And I mean, all you do, you just got to seize your opportunities.
Right.
Like you're saying with the Storm Kids, and like even with me, like this is the second show. Well, okay, I messaged Danny for the first show.
Right.
The second show, Danny messaged
Right.
me. You
Right.
know,
Right.
So,
It's all that networking and the connections, right? And-
exactly. And then there's been a couple of other promotions that are doing shows around here. I think they're called Lakeland Pro is going to be doing a show
Yeah, I
in
saw that.
October the 13th up in Bonnyville. I was booked on that show for a little while, and then I guess they rounded up a local fella to do the announcing. I've still been invited to come along, and they said they would find something for me to do.
So you got to do it.
Well, don't get me wrong. Like I said, you know, like I told the guys, like, if I can get a lift to the show, then, you know, I'm happy to come. I'm happy to announce, like, you know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm kind of curious, too. Like, I mean, if I show up, I'm wondering, okay, am I going to get put on sound, or are they going to give me some sort of cool opportunity? Like,
And I think that's the key. You show up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If nothing else, you meet people that you haven't met who are into wrestling, and who knows what comes from that.
oh,
right?
for sure.
So, yeah.
And I mean, as somebody who is, like, I mean, the show is going to have, like, a good percentage of RCW guys on it, so it's not like they're going to be like, "Hey, Kyle, get the fuck out of the locker room," you know? Like,
Who's this Mark trying to get in here?
yeah.
No, but I'll go to any wrestling show if I'm invited. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and
especially,
if it's
like-
just, hey, you can come and watch, no problem. That's what I'll do.
No, yeah, no, absolutely. Like, even if I do show up and they're like, "Okay, yeah, just watch," or you do security, you know. But I honestly, like, I'd really like to, like, try my hand as, like, a manager or something.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if he doesn't want me to announce, like, you know,
Running.
I want to try something. I'm not necessarily running. That's, you know, me
I think,
attacking somebody would be kind of.
I think that's one big thing that a lot of people in our business don't know that other people don't understand is a lot of people look at what you do and what I do and guys like Farron do, that it's easy. You know, oh, I'm going to do that. And there's
Far from it.
those three things I just mentioned. Now let's be very careful here, because I want to make sure I say but one important thing first. The ladies and the gentlemen that get in that ring and get bounced around, that's the hardest thing that happens in our business. And I want to take nothing from that. I have the utmost respect for those people. I don't, you know, I might take a tiny bump here and there, but it's nothing to what those folks do. But announcing, managing, reffing, those aren't easy gigs. Like, that's not just anyone could do it. Because if anyone could do it, it'd be a lineup waiting to come in, right? And so I know I talked to Farron about this quite a bit, that it's frustrating on an indie show when you show up and you're short a ref and they just grab somebody and make him the ref or her the ref. Like, that doesn't work. Like, that is an intricate part of this match the ref isn't just someone tapping the mat. They play a huge role in what we do. The announcer plays a huge role in what we do. And I like to think when I'm out there, I play a role in what we do, right? So for you, you got to go. You got to show up, and you got to, whatever they offer, do it, man. Do it.
Absolutely. No, the plan is to totally go. I know Ophidian from Chikara is going to be on that show.
Yes.
And I mean, even like I said on a post, like, because somebody asked me, because I shared the post about their show, and so somebody said, "Oh, Kyle, are you announcing?" And I was straight with people. I'm not a liar. I'll kayfabe people for the sake of protecting the show if I need to.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie to people, and so I got booked for the show, and then I was not unbooked. Like, he wasn't like, "Fuck you, you suck." Like, he was just like, "Oh, I found a local guy to do it, but you're still invited to come," or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, like, absolutely. But, like, what I said to him was, like, it's an opportunity for me, because there's two situations, okay? I'm going to show up, and the announcer they've had is more seasoned than I am and can offer me advice.
Absolutely.
Or they're less seasoned than I am, in which case I can offer my advice to them. And that also is going to make me valuable to...
That's right.
Just the business.
I will tell you something I always, again, share with my daughter and my nephew and anyone else who wants to listen to me ramble on is personality will get you everywhere. If people like you, they will help you do better at what you do. If people dislike you, they won't give you the time of day. And so you showing up and assisting in whatever way it is and giving advice or taking advice, that's all positive stuff that people will be all for, right? If you're just nice to people and funny and, you know what I mean, a good person to be around.
Don't be an asshole.
Yeah, it seems so simple, right? It seems so simple, but it's not simple for everybody in the world. It's difficult for a lot of people to understand that, right? So I think that's the one thing that people outside of our business, and again, we're new to this, but you see it immediately, is that brotherhood and sisterhood of, maybe there's two people behind that locker room door that aren't friends, but if those two people are walking the street, they're still brothers. You know what I mean? They're gonna protect each other and they're gonna respect each other. So, and especially for the workers in the ring, who are, risking injury at the hands of someone else. Like, you have to trust those people in the ring. So yeah, I just think it's all about personality. If you have a positive outlook on life and if you're happy, things are going to happen. People are going to help you and you're going to help other people. So that's why I think it's awesome. We're sitting on this couch at the Squig Towers and
Squig Towers. Oh boy. Yeah, so have you ever had, like, any issues in wrestling whatsoever with anybody, like, where it was like, any heat with anyone?
Like the workers themselves?
The workers, or even, like...
Of course, with the fans. I mean, there's...
I would hope you'd had heat with fans. If you didn't, you're not doing a very good job.
Of course, right? You come in, you can know all you think you know about wrestling. And I think I know a lot. But when you walk into that locker room, you're nobody, right? And this is a very protected business. And so sometimes you step out of the line. Our good buddy Thaddeus, my good friend, him and I had a little bit of an issue at first just because of, me not quite understanding fully kayfabe and not kayfabe and what's a shoot and what's not. And, he felt I disrespected him. And so as someone new in this business, it was my job to apologize and, suck up my pride and say, shit, man, I am new and that was wrong and you were right. And that's what it's about. Like, you learn. And I have no problem when I act like an asshole, even if it was unintentional, saying, shit, I'm wrong. You're right. I shouldn't have done that. And what that brings is two people together. And, that Thaddeus has a lot that he can teach me when I'm there.
Thaddeus is an invaluable
and he's an awesome dude. And I think people think we're working the crowd on social media, that we're friends now, but we are friends. Like, he's a good dude, and we got past that little lump in the road, and so now we're good. Like, so it's a shoot. We're buddies. You know what I mean? And we respect each other. So you know, I'm glad we got past it. And like I said, with all his experience, the things he can do to help me, like we'd need another hour podcast to list all that stuff, right? So,
this podcast here wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for Thaddeus. Like, if it wasn't for like him being like, "Oh, do you want to host the Archer Report?"
Right.
Like, I wouldn't have any kind of confidence
That's
to
right.
do anything like this.
that's right.
You know,
Shout out Archer Report Thursdays.
yes, definitely every Thursday on YouTube.
That's right.
Do a search for Thaddeus Archer the Third. All the videos will pop up on his channel. Like,
That's right.
check them out,
really
especially
good.
the ones that I've posted.
That's right. That's right. That's right. You may see us in a couple of those shots. You in
Yeah.
a lot of them. I'm in a few too. So.
Yeah, no, it's I love the Archer Report, and just like the fact that Thaddeus has, you know, it's a very much with wrestling in general. Like, I've noticed, my background in improv comedy has been invaluable.
For sure.
Like,
And that Archer Report is some of the funniest stuff we do. And not only does it promote our show, but it's entertaining. Like, even if you're not a wrestling fan, I show it to people all the time, obviously because I'm in it sometimes, but like, they laugh. They may not know a headlock from a wristwatch, you know what I mean? But they enjoy that show. So I love it. I think it's great, and it's fun. I'm
Yeah.
sure you feel the same way. That it's fun to do that
It
stuff.
is
right?
so fun,
Yeah.
and I just like I would like the word to get out and more people to see
For sure.
it. Like, you know, I know that there's, you know, a core audience of RCW fans and stuff, but if we want that audience to grow, that Archer Report is going to be like invaluable to
Absolutely.
that process, especially
Absolutely.
once he starts to get enough views and subscribers to the point where, oh, we're logging on and 1,000 people are watching. You know, like
Yep.
that would be amazing.
But yeah, going back to our original talk, that from a heat standpoint, I think that's the only one that, for me, that was like at any type of level of heat.
I hear
Again,
ya.
guys, I don't. To me, when someone pulls me aside and tells me that wasn't good or that was bad or that was stupid, I never see that as heat. That's just someone bringing me along. But
That's criticism,
absolutely,
and
yep.
you know, if you can't take criticism, you're in the wrong business.
yeah, this is
Like,
not the place for you. Right?
Yeah.
So
But like, that's the thing with our guys, is it's always constructive
Absolutely.
criticism.
Absolutely.
If Merc or Metal or
Right.
somebody comes to you and they're like, yeah, you did this wrong, the next thing they say is, this is why you did it
yeah,
wrong.
and here's how to fix it.
Yeah.
and they're good at saying here's what was good.
Yeah, for
This
sure.
this part's awesome. This part's not. Here's how to fix it. How else would you ever learn this? You know what I mean? Because you would just go out and do the wrong thing over and over again if that was the case. So
Oh, yeah.
again, not to sound like a broken record, but if those guys didn't care about what we did, they wouldn't even have those conversations. We'd just be out there floundering around.
Yeah. Thaddeus, I think, is one of those guys you have to kind of warm up to.
Sure,
I'll
sure.
be honest with you.
I think a lot of us are that guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like the first few months when because I started out, I was only announcing in Red Deer, and Thaddeus never did Red Deer shows.
Right.
So when I started announcing in Edmonton, like, he was one of these guys where, like, he's totally, like, lives his gimmick online and
Sure.
stuff, and
Yep.
I was like, oh, I think this guy hates me. I'm pretty sure he thinks I'm like a total J-Brown. But, then I did a couple of shows and announcing, and guys were like, oh, you're doing a good job. And then, Thaddeus came up and he was like, oh, yeah, you're a quality ring announcer.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and then he started giving me little opportunities. And
That's
now
right.
it's like,
That's right. I think that's the thing about our business, is that the reason that people are in it is because they're characters in real life. Maybe not their gimmick character, but you have to have a certain personality to be part of this, right? So, and I've spent 40-some years of people having the wrong impression of me because of my personality that I kind of put out there. But like Thaddeus, I think, and yourself, when people get to know us, they're like, oh yeah, this is cool. I'm into this. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, and it's such a unique genre and art form. And, it's like it's just this weird creative amalgamation of things, like,
Yep.
and once you're let in on that process, that's when it's like, oh wow, now we're rocking and
Yeah.
rolling and creating, and
That's right.
we're
That's
living
right.
the dream, which is to entertain people, like,
That's right.
at least for me, like,
Absolutely. And wrestling fans are extreme and loyal. You know what I mean? To people who aren't in the wrestling scene or aren't fans, the only way I can ever describe it is it's similar to being a Star Trek fan. Like, there's people who are obsessed with Star Trek and can tell you what happened in episode 6, 10 minutes in, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And that's what wrestling fans are. And if you want to get yourself in trouble, you go to a wrestling fan and tell them how you don't like wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, but people just don't get it. And it's okay. You know what I don't get? I don't get NASCAR. I don't, it's not my thing. But I don't judge those who like it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not my thing. That there's obviously appeal to it. Millions of people watch it. Do you know what I mean? And that's, you don't hear people judging other things the way they judge wrestling for some reason. The people that aren't into it. Like, it's immediate, oh, that's fake, that's phony, and it's stupid, and why would you do that? Well, you don't know what you're talking about. That's why you're saying that. Like, I can't go into things I don't like and criticize them because I don't know them. If I knew them, I might like them, right? I can go on for 10 minutes about how I think NASCAR's dumb, but it can't be dumb. That doesn't make sense because millions of people pay money to watch it. It can't be dumb. I personally just don't watch it.
Oh, yeah. No, one of the things to do with the Asperger syndrome there, not to get like too weird and personal, but like it's one of the things is those people, folks with Asperger's are sometimes like called like little professors and stuff, right? Because you kind of wrap your head around one thing and then that absorb information. And for me, it's like wrestling. Like, you know, there's a time when, especially in like 2003 to like 2006, I could have told you like every guy in WWE, Ring of Honor, CZW, like I would have been like, okay, this is this guy and that's his finishing move and he teams with this guy, you know, like just this weird fountain of information. And there's a lot of fans that are like that too, that are just like,
I'm right here. Like, very recently I sat with my daughter watching part of WrestleMania 2 where the Bulldogs beat the Dream Team for the titles, and I could recite the commentary to that match, and she was just looking at me like she loves.
Does your daughter like wrestling?
She loves wrestling. Loves wrestling. All thanks to me, of course. But no, she loves wrestling. But again, she's the kind of into the new age of wrestling. Like not new. She really likes the older WrestleManias with the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian Dudley's and that kind of extreme stuff. But she because of her dad respects it all. Do you know what I mean? Like she'll watch WrestleMania 2 and 3.
Oh, I've seen her at shows, and she's always like totally respectful.
Oh yeah.
She's willing to help out. Like, your wife last night was working the 50-50 tickets.
That's
like,
right.
We got the whole dirty Mike.
Got to bring the dirty family in, right?
Yeah.
But no, my daughter loves wrestling, and I've got to take her a couple times to see it, and so. Yeah, she thinks this is just great for her. You know, Dad's in wrestling now. This is awesome. So, and her friends come and watch sometimes, and so it's cool. It's really cool.
Nice. Okay, well, we have been talking for a while. Is there any final thoughts you have?
Well, I first want to say thanks to everyone who voted to get me onto this, and a huge thank you to all those people supporting me in this crazy dream that I'm in. I don't think this would be the same for me if I didn't have all those people, be it on the East Coast or Alberta or, I've got friends in Australia and Europe that are into this and they're loving it and they're enjoying the ride with me, and that makes it so much better. Thanks to everybody who's part of that, and I can name all of you. I won't because I'll forget someone, but you know who you are. Thanks to all the guys and girls at RCW, you included, Kyle. Like, I don't even know how to put into words how fortunate I am that these people have brought me in and let me be part of this, and so I look forward to that. And yeah, I'm glad I can be on the inaugural Monday night show. Yeah. This is going to be a hard act to follow, so good luck.
Good
luck, Archer.
Yeah. Like even when you first messaged me when I said, okay, I'm going to do a podcast, and you messaged me like, oh, I'd love to be on your podcast. And I was like, oh yeah, right on. I mean, I'll have you on. But it's the first one. I want to kind of get like maybe one of the champions, or, one of the like authority figures or somebody. And then I was like, oh well, let's just put up a little poll here and. I'll allow write-in votes and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you were on the original list, but
no.
Yeah, no, I'm actually like super happy you won and everything too, because like, I mean, it's a little it's a lot less nerve-wracking than
Sure.
if I'm sitting here with somebody who, like,
Absolutely,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, what is this person's... Like, don't get me wrong, I value your opinion of
Absolutely,
me, but
no,
I'm
no.
not really scared of
That's
you.
right. That's right. I'm not going to pile drive you here in Squig's basement.
Cameron Stevens and
Yeah.
Sweet Daddy are still in Calgary right now.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
No, man, it's been awesome. I'm glad we did.
Yeah,
it.
no, I'm very appreciative. We should plug... do our plugs here?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Do you want me to go
Dirty
first?
Mike's Slam Shop?
Yeah, so, just to kind of subsidize what we're doing, we got a little website, and we're trying to sell some merch, and that's at dirtymikejones.com or .ca, whichever you prefer. Obviously, you want to follow me on Instagram, DirtyMJones. I don't just post wrestling stuff, it's whatever I'm up to, whether it's concerts or whatever foolishness I get up to. I find it...
Didn't you just give Trish Stratus a special
Just-
Dirty Mike
that was
shirt?
the second time I got to meet Trish. Again, pretty lucky. She's, if you haven't met Trish Stratus, good God, she's not only gorgeous, she's the nicest human being you'll ever meet. Like there's no Hollywood to Trish. She talks to you like you've met her a million times. And so yeah, most of my Dirty Mike shirts are white. She got a very unique Sahara blue, I believe is the color. And so got to meet Trish. That was at the Sask Expo where we were selling some merch. RCW shows is where you'll see me. Anything outside of RCW, I'll post on Instagram. But yeah, hope everyone comes out. Even if you're not a huge wrestling fan, you got to come out and you can speak to people who weren't wrestling fans who are now that I've brought to shows. It's not what you think, and it's fun. It's fun as hell. So you got to come out and try.
Oh
it.
yeah, definitely. It's my favorite form of entertainment in the world.
Absolutely. What are you plugging? Let's hear it.
I'm plugging next month's Rise of the Legends show
Yeah.
on October the 20th. That's going to be here in Edmonton.
Yep.
The night before that, we are going to be in Calgary for the Final Stand 2.
That's right.
An
And on that
amazing
show,
named, like the name of a show, The Final Stand.
so
Second one.
two things to plug for those shows, especially that Calgary one. So finally, Dirty Inc. and the Universe are going to be in the ring together. So it's going to be Dirty Inc. against the Universe and Sydney Steele. Let me just say I respect Sydney Steele. He's from Halifax, Nova Scotia, the greatest province in this country. But after that respect, he's getting in the ring with the two wrong people. So I hope he's ready. Also on those two shows, we got the Dungeon Master himself, Kevin Sullivan, coming into town. So that's good. I can't wait. I could mark out for the next hour on that one, but I can't wait to meet Kevin Sullivan. So
I am very, very stoked to meet Kevin Sullivan. Obviously, we're doing a podcast here. Kevin Sullivan has a podcast I don't know if he's continuing to do it, but I was listening to it a lot, where he would just review old Nitros.
oh, nice.
And
nice.
talk about like what was going on
Yeah,
and
he was
stuff.
booking,
and I was
right?
just like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy's gonna be like around, and I'll be able to be like, oh yeah, what happened here? And what do you think of this? Like any opportunity you get to when somebody like that comes in, it's like definitely at the end of the night, I'm gonna be walking up and being like, hi, do you have any advice or tips for me on
Absolutely.
my performance and stuff
Absolutely.
What
else you plugging? What else?
Okay, so October the 19th is Calgary. The next night in Edmonton is going to be the Rise of Legends. Tickets for those events are going to be on sale online or through any of the RCW staff or wrestlers. There's 3 tiers to those tickets. There's a $25 base level ticket. That's just basically going to get you into the show in time before ring time. There's a VIP ticket, and the VIP ticket is going to get you a ringside seat, and you're going to be admitted to the building earlier than the general admission people. You're also going to have the opportunity to maybe get something autographed from Kevin Sullivan. And then we have the Platinum Package, which is $50, which is going to include a free autographed picture, and you'll probably have the opportunity to chat with Kevin for a minute or two. You'll also be admitted to the building even earlier than the VIP people. So if you like to get to wrestling early, it wouldn't shock me if there was maybe some pre-show matches on these cards. So that's my main plug. Also, Canadian Wrestling Elite on November the 1st in Springbrook. There's also going to be a CWE show in Calgary. I'm not sure of the date for that show. It would be somewhere in that range, 2 or 3 days. I believe the 29th, they're doing a show in St. Albert. So, yeah, check out Canadian Wrestling Elite. Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake is going to be there. Those shows should be fantastic. And then Lakeland Pro is going to be on October 13th. And then I've heard November 16th is going to be a show called King of Glory. I don't know if I'm going to be on that show or not. I've messaged the promoter to say, oh, yeah, I can make myself available if need be. That's right. But anyway, those are the shows that are going on around here that I am hoping to attend or be involved in. Also, I mean, I don't know where you stand on this, but I don't have a problem with any of the other wrestling promotions in town. Check out PWA. Check out Monster Pro.
CWC in Red Deer.
CWC in Red Deer.
One of their shows.
Yeah, oh, yeah, we went to that show too, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where I got my Dirty Mike shirt.
Mike shirt.
Yep. So, yeah, check out all the promotions. Like I say, like the one thing I said, because this is all going to be on the Backbreaker Media network, run by Mike the Ref. Right. And so I asked Mike the Ref, I said, okay, is there any like ground rules I need to know here? Like, because I was a little worried that he was going to be like, oh, you're not allowed to cuss and whatnot. And I was going to be like, oh, okay, well, we're going to cuss. And if you want to bleep it, go for it. You know, but he was like, no, the only real rule is I don't want anybody crapping on other promotions and stuff. And
absolutely.
And I said, yeah, no, it's totally like, as the host, I'm not going to go into like business for myself and start, crapping on people. Like, that's not what we're about anyways. But, yeah, so, I did say, though, like, if I have a guest on here and he's got a huge problem with PWA and wants to talk about it, and that's his prerogative. But I'm not going to sit here and say don't go. In fact, I believe the plan is for a few of us to actually go down to a PWA show next weekend.
Nice.
One of the boys, Barricade, congratulations, is going to be getting married soon.
That's right.
And there will be a bachelor party probably.
Dirty Mike's going to miss that. Nothing good can come from that.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not advertising that. It's not a public event open to the public or anything, but there's going to be some boys down at the PWA event there. Yeah, it's probably going to be a more Edmonton-based thing, but I'm sure you would be welcome if you did want to come. Yeah. So check out all the promotions. Like I say, just one more time, October 19th and 20th for RCW with Kevin Sullivan. November the 1st in Springbrook for Canadian Wrestling Elite with Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And then you've got Lakeland Pro in October the 13th, and then King of Glory is the 16th. Next weekend there's PWA. I believe the first Saturday of every month is Monster Pro. I've been invited by a few guys to go check that out too, which I probably will. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the first ever episode of Monday Night Shaw. Dirty Mike, any final words?
Let's end it on this.
Okie dokie.
You're welcome.
We are done. Thank you so much, my friend. And we will see you at the matches, everybody. Take it easy.